What's going on, you guys? My name's Ty Knots, and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns, 5 Tinder horror stories from Reddit. Number 5. So I met this guy on Tinder, and he invited me over to his place to play music together. We're both musicians. I was new to online dating and was still fairly naive, so I followed him into his weird converted garage bedroom and sat down on a couch while he pulled out his keyboard. He played for a while and I started getting a little antsy. He was super into the music and kind of getting aggressive with the keyboard. He was slamming keys down and making these weird noises, so I shot up out of my seat and told him that I should get going soon. He went totally back to normal and changed his tone and posture and became less hunchbacked. He then apologized for getting carried away, and I agreed to sit back down on the couch so we could talk more. He came and sat down next to me, and we went back to our earlier conversation. He seemed back to normal and nice, so when he asked if he could kiss me, I agreed. He leaned in toward me and closed his eyes, waiting. I also waited but never felt his lips, so I opened my eyes to peek and saw him just staring at me. I threw my head back surprised, but he had snaked his hand back towards my hair and interwoven his fingers so that I couldn't move. He then inhaled deeply and told me, "You smell like you're Jewish. I can tell because you smell like my aunt's house." I was totally freaked out by this point, partially because yes, I am Jewish, and tried to wiggle away from him and frantically stated that I had to go. He then jumped on top of me and to my horror started sobbing, yelling that he's so sorry that he made me uncomfortable. His body weight was completely preventing me from moving, so I forced myself to just rub his back. I told him that I wasn't uncomfortable at all and that he was really sweet. He made me promise over and over again that I'd see him again before finally getting off of me. I moved to the door and tried to calmly tell him that I really did just need to go. He was blocking my way and all I could think of was that I needed him to let me to leave and that I couldn't fight him off. He told me I needed to kiss him before I could leave, and I quickly pecked him on the lips. He smiled at me and I was glad he didn't expect more. He then said, "Call me please." I think that went well, as he opened the garage door and I scurried away. I called my mom and started crying as soon as I was far away enough. She called me a cab home and I blocked him from every way that I could. I then saw him once again after that on campus, but that was enough for me, so I hope we never meet again. Number 4. So I matched with this girl on Tinder named Jenna. Jenna and I went on our first date January 26th. She knew I was just out of a long-term relationship and still maintained occasional contact with my ex named Mary. But Jenna and I officially started calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend around mid-February. 3 days ago, while I'm in the shower, she goes through my phone and reads old messages between Mary and I. A few casual ones and a few very affectionate ones from before Jenna and I even started seeing each other or even met. Jenna then packs her things and is heading out the door when I get out of the shower. With my phone, she texts a bunch of people saying how terrible I am and that Mary is just being manipulative. She then hacks into my Facebook account and makes a post calling Mary a slew of names and blocks and unfriends several of my friends. She then does a similar thing with my Twitter. I get a hold of a couple coworkers and ask if they can try to sign back into my Facebook account. Once Jenna realizes that I'd done this, she then changed my passwords and all my email passwords as well. Eventually, she tells me that she wants to talk this out and to meet up at my place. I play along so I can get my phone and my passwords back. She gives me my phone and makes me call Mary and tell her that I'm cutting her out of my life. I got a hold of Mary earlier and warned her that something like this might happen. We both have a background in theater, so we had a very convincing argument over speakerphone so that Jenna could hear. Jenna gives me my passwords and I immediately change them. I tell her that she should leave and she doesn't understand why I want her out of my life. She then goes home and is very upset about breaking up with me over this. So the next day comes around and she makes a Facebook page calling me a piece of garbage and hacks into my alternate Twitter account. I tell her if she contacts me one more time or posts one more thing about anybody I know that I'm calling police. Well, things didn't change, so I did call the cops. The police come and tell me that she has some sort of file with them and that her name isn't even Jenna. It's something completely different. They issue a warning of harassment and says that if she tries to contact me again, to call them back and that she'll be arrested. I realize that this is a lot to take in, and it's actually just the bare bones version of this story. Basically, the reason I'm posting this now is that the police got involved and I've had my locks changed and my number changed and all is supposedly solved. But I'm now starting to feel the emotional damage of being abused and harassed by someone I really started to care about. And honestly, I don't know how to deal with it. Number 3. So toward the end of October, I met a guy named Dave on Tinder, and from the looks of it, he was an okay guy. He was funny and quite the gentleman. He didn't ask for anything appropriate, and things seemed fine. We talked for about 2 weeks and then set up a time to go on a date. We decided to meet in the city where he'd recently moved to, which is about 35 minutes away from my house. I got to the bar and waited for him, but he was 15 minutes late. He walked in and looked fairly similar to his pictures, which I was happy about. He then opened his mouth to talk and had a very strange voice, like he was always on the verge of crying. It was just really weird. He also had some tattoos on his arms, including an all-seeing eye Illuminati symbol. Trying to break the tension, I jokingly said, "Illuminati confirmed. Tell me all your secrets." He then says, "What are you talking about? Don't say that kind of stuff in public." I just kind of laughed it off, but he was being really weird. He then asks, "You know people who pry are people that die." I just looked at him and I genuinely did not know how to respond. Fast forward about 20 minutes and a couple of my friends came to the bar at my urging. I moved to sit on the same side as him so that my friends could sit on the same side of the booth together. The minute I sit down, he puts his hand on my knee and squeezes. Not as in an "oh, I'm interested" squeeze, but really hard squeeze. I looked at him to stop and he leans over and whispers, "You have lovely kneecaps." By the time my friends left, he had 7 beers. As I'm getting ready to say goodbye, it starts raining and he informs me that he walked to the bar from his house and asked for a ride home. Reluctantly, I agree. On the very short drive to his house, he informs me that it's not actually his house, but that he's living in his sister's basement. When I finally park in front of his house, he leans over to kiss me and I tried to give him my cheek, but he physically turned my head and put his entire tongue in my mouth. I told him that if he didn't get out of my car that I was calling the police, and he started tearing up but got out of the car. Luckily, I've never seen him again. Number 2. I use Tinder pretty frequently, and it's usually cool. So I matched with this dude named Charlie, and he seems really nice. He's really cute and plays music, which is really appealing, as I also sing and play piano. We talk for a little while, and I agree to meet him at his house. I don't drive, so I take an Uber, and it's a decent way away, so it's kind of pricey. When he buzzes me into the apartment complex, I get this really creepy vibe, but I shook it off as just being nerves. I then go up to the 3rd floor, and he's standing at the doorway. Things are cool, and we just start hanging out for a while when he tries to make a move on me, so I just went with it. We end up in bed, and we're obviously engaging in adult activities, when out of nowhere, he wraps his hands around my neck. So I literally can't breathe, and I'm fairly certain that I'm turning blue at this point, but he's just relentless. Not only is he asphyxiating me, but he's now yelling in my face, "Are you scared?" I started to struggle, but he started gripping even harder. I'm not even kidding you guys, I seriously thought that I was going to die. By some miracle, I wriggle out of his grasp and start just screaming. He's yelling at me to calm down, and I'm frantically trying to put on all my clothes. He then grabs my wrist as I'm trying to leave, and I use all my strength to pull away and slam the door. Once I get home, I look in the mirror and I have huge bruises around my neck. I try to cover it up with makeup, but it's just not happening. I straight up look like I was almost strangled. Anyway, I blocked him and reported him on Tinder. I wish I could have done more because I seriously think he would have killed me. I've been debating going to the police, but the bruises are gone now and it's a he said she said thing, but I'm really starting to wonder if I should because the next girl might not be so lucky. Number 1. So this happened just today. Against my better judgment, at the beginning of the month, I got a Tinder account. I matched with a few guys and one of them was named James. We ended up texting each other and he seemed pretty cool and pretty into me. He was a decent looking guy and we seemed to click. He'd apparently been in a relatively abusive relationship with a woman and was just looking to start over. According to him, she'd hit him with the frying pan and pepper sprayed him once. He kept going on and on about how crazy she was. So we went out to the movies this past Friday and had a really great time. We ended up talking for a few hours and hit it off pretty well. I asked him about the ex as I was a bit curious as to why he'd stay with someone like that. He didn't say anything positive about her, just that she was crazy, that she had mental illness and didn't take her meds, that kind of stuff. She tried to baby trap him at one point, but apparently had had a miscarriage. So this morning rolls around and he tells me that he hooked up with his ex last night and that he's going to try to work things out with her. He then a few hours later texted me and said that she was crazy and that he thought she was going to change but that she wasn't. He kept asking if he could see me. He was being very pushy about it and wanted to see me today. He begged for just 5 minutes of my time so that he could explain it to me. I politely told him that I didn't want to be involved with someone who was so clearly hung up on his ex, but this is where it got nuts. He admitted that he still was with his ex, but that he wanted to see me today so that she could meet me and determine if I was better for him, and that she just wanted him to be happy because she knew that we had a connection. I obviously declined. He then started to harass me, saying that I was miserable because they have a beautiful love together and all this stuff. He then went on to say that my wife knows where you work and I hope she doesn't do anything rash. I promptly told him goodbye, reported him, and deleted my Twitter account. I did go to the police that night, but since it wasn't a direct threat, they couldn't really do anything. The cops think that James was more or less just trying to scare me. He said that I did the right thing by blocking him and reporting him, and said that I should just keep my eyes open and alert the people at my job in case anything does go awry. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.